Brother, would you like to come up? I'm just going to interview Leonardo briefly so that we have an understanding not only of the man but also of his situation. Leonardo, you've come to us from your home in Rome. You've left behind your wife and 2 sons. Tell us a little bit about the church which you pastor in Rome.
It's a Reformed Baptist church at the very heart of the city, and the location that we have at the moment is very central, next to the Colosseum, next to the Forum area, next to the main sites, historical sites of the city. And it's a great privilege to be there, right where the Reformation was rejected, and in many ways the fight against the Reformation was led. It's good to be there to present the city with the gospel account of, with the account of the true gospel of grace, and to confront the false accounts of the gospel that the city has embraced across the centuries.
Okay, great. So were you involved in planting that church?
Yes,
Yep.
yes. That was part of a church planting work started 5 years ago, and with the purpose of planting Reformed Baptist confessional churches in the capital city of the nation, so that it will become eventually an encouragement for other church planting work across the city and around the nation, and to send a message that though we are a minority, we are not inward-looking churches, we are not pessimistic churches, but we are hopeful, realist gospel churches looking forward to the power of God unto salvation, even in a difficult country like Italy.
Okay, wonderful. And this gives you opportunities amongst students and visitors and so on?
Yeah, we are at the very center of the city, where you find the upper class people living there, as well as the beggars, because they own the city center in many ways. And it's good. It's a good exercise of bringing the gospel to such a diverse audience, and not making selection based on human decisions, but really relying on God's sovereignty and training the church to be a place where everybody is welcomed, and not making selections according to status or to age.
Okay, thank you. You have a wider ministry than the local church. You minister in the context of something called EFED.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain to us what is EFED, what does it do, and how are you involved in that?
One of the
work?
great needs of the country is has to do with training of younger leaders, younger pastors, and what we've been doing in the last 30 years. Not myself. I'm not as old as you. We've been trying to give opportunities to Italian leaders to get the best training possible in an affordable way, contextualized, as well as deep way. And this has been going on for 30 years. Mm-hmm. So we're offering a theological training in 5 years, and now we offer it in Padua, northeast of the country, Rome, central Italy, and Sicily, down in the south.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you link those 3 centers? Do you travel around? How does that work?
No, we are making use of technology, and so using the streaming technology, so that we maintain a sense of a learning community by having 3 physical classrooms of people, one in Padua, one in Rome, one in Sicily, meeting at the same time, same day. Okay. So when I teach from Rome, in Padua they watch me, and that takes place in Sicily as well. And the same is true as far as the other lecturers are concerned, so that we maximize the use of technology without losing the interpersonal, relational aspect of learning. We want our students to be side by side with us, and to have opportunities to interact with us, not only being behind a screen.
Mm-hmm. And how many people are in the classroom? How many folks?
In Padua, we have 80 students. In Rome, 25, and in Sicily, 30. So the number is tripled in a couple of years because of that provision, and but the potential is even bigger than that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we expect the work to expand even further than that, and it will be a great opportunity to provide what the Italian churches are really needing.
Good. And IFED is based in the north, in Padua.
Yeah.
And tell us about the conferences that IFED organises.
Part of the ministry of IFED is to have a yearly conference that has been taking place for 30 years now, and gathering Italian pastors and leaders and people who are involved in church life and church leadership once a year to have a theological conference. So with an international speaker, as well as encouraging Italian pastors and theologians to participate in many ways. We also have, as part of our own DNA, what we call the public theology intention. That is, once we gather with this theological conference, we always have someone who comes from a Catholic background or a secular background, and we're trying to interact with them by showing the importance of the Christian faith in engaging the culture in a meaningful way, not in an ecumenical way, but in an apologetic way, in an evangelistic way, in a winsome way, so that we offer a model to our participants of how to engage with the wider culture without sensing a sense of inferiority or without fearing the engagement with the culture.
And how many people were at your conference last year?
Last year we had nearly 300 people coming to our yearly conference, and the numbers are growing up year by year. This year our theme will be the Reformation, so it's going to be a great conference.
Okay.
God's grace.
Okay. Now my last question, and I think I know the answer to this question, but my last question is the Reformation over?
Your smile is an answer. So no, the Reformation is not over. But thank you, Bill, for introducing this topic, because I was part of a international initiative that involved a number of people around the world to draft a document that would be helpful for the global church in entering this centenary of the Protestant Reformation, having a document answering clearly, simply, and hopefully biblically this very question. In 2005, Mark Knoll, an accomplished Reform or evangelical historian, American historian, wrote a book asking the question, is the Reformation over? And his answer was not as clear as should have been. And so the question has been going around since. And another Protestant scholar named Peter Leiter recently wrote a book entitled The End of Protestantism, by arguing that it's over. There is no longer the need to have this Protestant church, given the fact that the Catholic Church has become more hospitable, more diverse, more inclined to include and to embrace richer varieties of Christian options. And given the fact that the Pope has commemorated the Protestant Reformation in Sweden no longer than 2 months ago, by basically sending the message that Luther was was a child of the church. He was a bit energetic, too much maybe. He liked to light fires. That was not. But basically, he was a child of the church. And what went wrong? These are the words of the Pope. What went wrong was church politics. But as far as theology is concerned, there is no longer the need to be separated. So, and globally, this year is going to be a year where the Reformation will be remembered, but many will ask, this is all good as far as the past is concerned, but what about our present day situation? What about in us confronting the challenges of secularism, of Islam? Isn't it good to join forces with the Catholic Church and to come to the point of saying, enough of the past, let's look forward and let's see ways to reunite ourselves. So the document was then framed. It's a 2-page document. It's a very simple document, and was signed by a number of evangelical leaders, theologians around the world. Some in this room also kindly signed it, and I'm grateful to all of you who have signed it. And it's on the website, www.isthereformationover.com. And it has been translated in several languages, and people are signing it, and it can be a useful, if it's at all useful, it can be a useful tool to help our church members, our friends, people around us to address the very issue, is the Reformation over? And of course the answer is no, because the issues of the Reformation, the basic issues, are still with us. The final authority of Scripture, salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, these are the basics of the Reformation that will ever be relevant and are very relevant in our own context. So it is not over.
Good. Thank you, Leonardo.
It's been our privilege in the church to have students from EMF come and partner with us each summer, and also to have London seminary students placed with us. And so we've got to know these two young men. Joseph Atta and Peter Joshua have both been with us because of their links with EMF as they've studied in the school there. And then Joseph's been at the John Owen Centre, and Peter at London Seminary. Peter's a member with us at Highbury as well. And so it's great to have them here at the conference. And I'd just like you both to have an opportunity to tell us what you go back to. So you're from Nigeria, the central region of Nigeria, with all the complexities of gospel life there. Joseph, tell us first, what are you planning to go? Why are you here at the moment? Because you're studying at the moment, aren't you? Yes. What are you going to go back to? What are the challenges there? And how can we pray for you? So, Joseph, please.
Okay. The name of our church denomination is CFN, Christian Evangelical Fellowship of Nigeria. And we have a small Bible school. I head up the work there. I am here for a study for a term of the Cornhill training course in London. I came in October, and I'll be going back in February this year. So our seminary is the arm of the denomination where we train up young men that want to go into ministry, and also those that are already in ministry, they have to come for further training. We have the challenge of this prosperity gospel, and there's need for us teachers there to need to update from time to time to be able to face the challenges. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And we have a challenge because, I believe some of you may know about Nigeria. I think we have Hugh Collier here that comes to our church every January to teach our pastors. The seminary is small, and we don't have too many number of students, because not many people would like to go into Christian ministry these days, especially in poor countries. We need more students to come for the training, and also we have problem of accommodation. We need to build hostel accommodation for the students where they will stay when they come to school during the school period, and also books. Our library is half empty. We need Christian books, good Christian books, reform books that will help us in our training of the students.
Thank you.
Okay.
Peter, yours is a slightly different future. Tell us what you're planning to do.
I'm not in a seminary. I'm a pastor of one of the local assembly of this denomination. I just finished from the London seminary in September. And one of the advantage, so to say, of going to London seminary is you can't go away from that place and remain innocent. You must come to a conclusion after 2 years. And I've come to a firm conviction in my heart. And that is kind of unchangeable now. Too late. And back home now with the challenges of charismatic health and word preaching, I felt I should return back to detoxify a little bit, and that's why I'm here. I came for this conference, and I'll be going back to help our church reform in a little way we can. And going forward, I think I'm planning to go to Zambia to Conrad Mbewe's church to spend more time there, maybe a year, to do internship, to learn how Reformed church work in an African context. And at the end of that, then I'll see things, how it will develop with my denomination and everything. And then Harvey Baptist Church are supporting me, if God willing, if God allow us opportunity to go to Zambia.
Peter's one of those members that leaves a lasting impression on you, particularly on the Ghanaian ladies. He really did have quite an impression on us. They actually got him washing up by the end of the second year. So,
Burma, a country also called Myanmar, which is very difficult to pronounce. And I'm involved in a teaching ministry called Dai College, which we set up 5 years ago with my cousin. We are promoting expository preaching and being involved in church planting, at the same time organizing conferences and interpreting conferences organized by Pastor Training International and Crosslinks.
Tell us a bit about the church in Myanmar, the size of it, and what it's doing at this point in time. Now, perhaps more freedom has come to that country.
The population of the whole country is 51 million. And out of which 6.4% of them claim themselves as Christians. And most of the majority of Christians belong to liberal churches, but evangelical churches are growing. And even though those who claim themselves liberals would be very strongly identifying themselves as a Christian because of the pressure we got from the government. And since the new government took over, there's more freedom in some other places like Rangoon and Mandalay, and there may be some other places which become worsened because of the extremism which arose a few years ago.
What about the desire to reach, most of the people are Buddhists in Burma. What's the desire of the church to reach the Buddhist population?
In the past, when people say they build churches, they go back to Chinsik and Kachin State and divide churches who are already Christian and call planting churches. But now, the new generation, young people, are very keen to reach Buddhist people and mainly people in Delta area where the majority of people are Buddhists. Lots of people go and help, and churches are growing. And there's lots of opportunity there, even though it is very difficult to run churches, but it's easy to plant churches in Burma.
Tell me about preaching in Burma. If you were listening to an average guy preaching in Burma, what would his sermon be like? What would that be?
Churches in Burma for 2 centuries been struggling to distinguish biblical preaching from good oration skill. If a pastor is asked to preach, he would think what the church needs, for example, love or giving, and he would form an idea how he can explain what love means or what giving means, and then he would use Bible verses, bits of Bible verses taken out of context to support and use it as a reference and preach. And the danger of it is they would take bits of Bible verses from different books out of context and they would create a monster called heresy. And even if their preaching is correct, that has no concern with what the Bible verses being read meant to be preached. And I would say 90, probably, I'm wrong, but I guess more than 95-96% of the preachers in Burma do topical preaching, mainly because people are interested only in systematic theology, not interested in biblical theology at all.
Okay. So PTI has been doing work there for a number of years now. There are other organisations as well working there to try to encourage expository preaching. What's the benefit of those who've been able to receive that sort of training? What do you see as changing as a result of that?
I myself, when I first heard the exposition, I was like, Brother Phil Roberts, who came this morning, was the first person ever I heard expository preaching from, and I thought, oh, too much Bible. So, but now I think because we've been organising conferences with Pastor Training International, and when I visit back those churches and those brothers, people come to be aware of the difference between preaching and the difference between talking on a subject. In the past, they thought it is a preaching, but they came to realize that it is talking on a subject rather than the preaching. And I think it is affecting churches, and there are lots of young people very eager to learn expository preaching, and I'm sure PDI has influenced evangelical churches as far as we can reach.
Just tell me, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
Okay. And when you go to your country, would you say most people are younger than you in your country? For that 51 million, would you say most are younger than you?
I think I'll be just the average.
The average of age.
Yeah.
It's different here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, but there are lots of young people, young ministers, and churches are growing, and there are lots of young preachers, which is really encouraging in my country.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How can we just pray for you?
Please pray for the continual work of the Lord in churches in Buddhist area, and also pray for churches from the danger of extremism. There are lots of monks trying to defend their Buddhist faith and writing many books insulting or trying to say that Christianity is wrong and things like that. And please also pray for civil war. It is intensifying now, and our brothers and sisters, Kachin people and Shan people, up in the hill in this windy and cold season, while we are enjoying our Christmas, they fled their homes and runs away. Unfortunately, civil war, the longest civil war in the world, is intensifying in some parts of my country. Please do pray for those brothers, and pray for the church, and pray for the teaching ministry that are being involved. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.